Hello, welcome to CS101 Introduction to Computer Science and Software Programming. This is class 1 and it's going to be an introduction to the rest of the course. You might be wondering, how can this course help you? This course will teach you the fundamentals of computer science, which is a useful skill to have for the following reasons. You all probably use Facebook, Google, Apple, or other technology products, all of which have been built by software engineers. Even in Apple's case, its devices run on hardware made by Apple, but the software that you use is built by software engineers. The job market, as you might have heard, for computer science engineers and software engineers is really hot right now. And even if you say you don't want to go into computer science, you want to go into other fields, non-computer science related fields, programming is still a really useful skill to have and is being used across a variety of industries. And maybe you're just curious about computer science and programming. You don't want to use it as for your career, but you've heard about it, you use the devices and software every day, and you're just curious about how these things work. So what can you expect in this course? By the time you finish this class or course, you can expect to understand the fundamentals of computers and computer networking, how software and online services such as Facebook and Google work. You will better understand programming languages and how to build software. And hopefully you will be able to write some simple, useful code yourself in a variety of languages that we will introduce in this course. And before we go any further, the rest of this class is a meta introduction to the course, so you will learn about all the various topics that you'll be learning about in this 2.5 hour course. First of all, what are computers? They're traditionally defined as devices that take in some input, process it, and produce some output. That is, it's a machine that is capable of doing some useful work. The user instructs the machine to do something through the keyboard, mouse, touchscreen, etc. The computer processes your input and takes some action, and then it shows you the result, either on your monitor, audio, etc. So you will probably find yourself doing this quite a lot, typing in some input through your keyboard or mouse on your computer, and then the computer does something and it shows you the results on your monitor or plays a video. And computers today don't actually just refer to your desktop or laptop. Your smartphone that you use every day is actually a full-blown computing device as well, as we'll find out later in this course. What makes computers actually work? It's software. This class is actually not going to go into any detail about hardware, which is the physical things that you can touch and feel on your device. This is about software, which is basically what makes a computer and hardware work. It allows you to accomplish the functionality that you need on your computing device, and that is done through software. And as an overall high-level definition, software is a piece of code that can be run or interpreted by your computer's hardware, and it does something useful using the hardware that it runs on. This is probably what you use on a day-to-day basis to actually make to do useful things on your computing device, whether it be your desktop, laptop, or smartphone. What are programming languages? Well, in order to build software, you build it using a programming languages. It's basically a human readable language that lets you build software that computers run. Some of the most popular programming languages are listed here. Java is a very popular programming language, and it's often used as a safe and performant choice by most companies, especially larger companies. Python is a language that is gaining in popularity. It is very simple, it's close to English, it's easy to pick up. PHP is probably the most popular programming language for simple web-based applications. If you're reading your news on a blog or a website, it's most likely running on PHP, and this is probably true for some other web applications that you use quite often as well. Now, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. With HTML and CSS, these may not be programming languages per se, but they're still very important in building websites. HTML is the user interface language, CSS is the styling language, and there's a language called JavaScript which runs in your browser, and it enhances the HTML and CSS and adds more functionality to web applications and lets you do useful things. C, C++ are the oldest high-level languages, and they're used in specialized fields. And you might also hear about languages such as Ruby, Perl, etc. So we will actually be going through most of these languages listed here in this slide in this course. We'll give an introduction to each of these programming languages and some sample snippets. except for C and C++, but we'll look at that in some brief detail as well. So you will often find yourself using multiple programming languages if you go into the computer science field. These programming languages are not mutually exclusive. For example, while you develop a web application, you might be writing the web application in HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and the server software in either Java, Python, or PHP. Or you could be building a desktop application where you're coding the front-end user interface in Python and server software in JavaScript. The good news is, once you learn one programming language, it's really easy to master other programming languages. The concepts are all very similar, only the structure and semantics are slightly different. So in the course, we'll be talking about a few other things as well. One is internet and websites. Basically, you have computer networks that help you connect from one computer to another through wired, wireless, or cellular networks. They connect to other computers through the internet, and websites themselves are really software coded in a programming language. You download a web page from the internet, and then you view it in your browser. So the browser is the software sitting on your computer that displays another software that is downloaded from another computer. When you use Google, Facebook, and other websites, you're using your device to connect to another computer and run software there. Servers are basically computers that reside somewhere on a network. They serve data and execute software that are requested by end users. When you go to, again, a popular website like Facebook or Google, you're requesting data from a server computer that sits in a large data center. Servers are computers as well, except that they're optimized to serve data to users over a network. And you can see some photos of what servers and data centers look like here. And these are basically administered through special software. So even though they're computers, they are run and operated a bit differently from your classic desktop or laptop or smartphone. But underneath, the hardware is more or less exactly the same, just more powerful. In terms of databases, you're probably familiar with files, and you store your photos or video or other things on your computing devices. This is where data is often stored long-term in files. But when you need quick data, like data needs to be quickly retrieved or some specific data, files aren't enough. You sometimes need software that is specifically designed to respond to user queries very fast, in milliseconds or so. For example, when you log into Facebook or type a search term in Google, you expect the page to load almost immediately. The databases are software that helps store data efficiently and make it easy to query and search on that data. If you go into computer science, you will often find yourself using databases for some real storage and querying work. And we'll talk about this in brief in this course as well. Mobile apps. This is kind of the trendy and hot topic right now. These are applications that run on your smartphone. They're very similar to desktop software. Desktop software used to be hot once upon a time, but they've been mostly replaced by web-based applications that run in your browser. So you often go to your website or web applications to do a lot of useful work. There are desktop software as well, like Microsoft Office, and video and photo editing software such as Photoshop are still mostly on the desktop, but a lot of things you can do today by going to a website and web page, and that's probably where most users spend their time. But on mobile phones and tablets, it's very hard to build easy-to-use web applications. You might have experienced it yourself. You might have gone to a web page on your desktop or laptop, and it's kind of a bit harder to use on your mobile phone. So mobile app development is hot right now, and there are two major platforms, iPhone and Android. And again, we'll talk in detail about mobile apps later in this course. And coming to data science and big data, this is basically a catch-all phrase for processing large amounts of data to find meaningful information, needles in a haystack and all that. This combines computer science and math branches. On the computer science side, you use computer science to build software to analyze data. On the math side, you use statistical models to model your data. And these two work together in order to bring out meaningful results from large data sets. We will talk about data science and big data in brief in this course. There's an introduction, but really a lot of detail in other courses. This is a huge topic in itself, and there are plenty of courses that specialize in various topics in data science and big data, but you will hear an introduction to the high-level topics in this course. And of course, as mentioned at the beginning, computer science is present in a whole bunch of other fields: journalism, finance, healthcare, And even in transport, like if you've heard about autonomous cars, self-driving cars, these are really cars that run on software and that depend on software to navigate. They do use car hardware, but ultimately it's the software that's using emerging topics in computer science such as image processing, machine learning, artificial intelligence to automatically drive itself, even though it's running on hardware. And the same applies to other fields. Journalism, finance, healthcare, computer science is deeply embedded in all of those fields. So it's a very useful skill to have, computer science and software programming. And that is what we'll be learning about in the rest of this course.